Thank you, Joan. Those are beautiful. I'm going to have to give radishes another chance, I guess. and someday I'm going to do an entire Waterline event just with the theme of food, because we've had several people who've read poems about food. Like I think last time Dory Becker read about a poem about a peach that was, and like the radish, it was beautiful. I'm going to need a little help introducing our next writer. As I read earlier, our first writer, John Manis, was from Knox College, as was I. And I'm going to ask Mike O'Mary, one of my classmates from Knox, to come up. It's not always all about Knox, but they do have a really strong writing program, so we just can't help it. Mike O'Mary, I'm going to let you tell who you are and introduce David Berner.
Thanks, Ann. Thank you. Don't have to applaud me, I'm just introducing somebody. But I'm here because I'm proud to be the publisher of the next author. I'm not going to tell you everything about David because I think you've all got his bio, but you can read that he's a journalist, broadcaster, author, teaches at Columbia College. You can hear him on WBBM and WXRT. He's got 2 memoirs out, both have won prestigious awards. I'm fortunate enough to have worked with David this past summer to put out a new edition of Any Road Will Take You There, his second memoir. By the way, I've got both of them over here for sale during the break if you happen to be interested. So 2 really good memoirs he's written. He does all kinds of other stuff. One of the things that I admire about David is that busy guy, right? If you read his bio, he does all kinds of stuff, but he makes time for writing, right? And I've always believed that, the difference between making it as a writer and not making it is sitting down in front of a blank computer screen and just making yourself do it, and there are a lot of writers in the world who have great ideas but just can't get it on paper, and David does that in all sorts of ways. The other couple of things I'm going to tell you real quick, little anecdote about David that you can find on his website. So he's a journalist, broadcaster. His roots in journalism go way back to his days as a paper boy delivering what's the Pittsburgh Press, right? He says he wasn't a very good paper boy journalist because instead of delivering the papers, he would stop and sit in the curb and read about the world instead of getting the papers delivered. But it was a start. And the other quick thing I'm going to mention is on December 3rd, David's going to be the guest of honor at a luncheon at the Union League in downtown Chicago. So if any of you happen to be downtown, it's a Wednesday, please think about joining us there. He's going to give a talk about road trips, midlife crises, and the journeys of fathers and sons, themes that are in a lot of his writing. And David was generous enough to offer he's going to give away 2 tickets tonight. So if during the break or later you want to come over and sign up, there's a catch. You have to sign up for my newsletter from Dream of Things, my publishing company, which is not too painful. But if you sign up for the newsletter, later on we'll at random pick somebody and get a hold of you by email, and you'll get 2 tickets to that luncheon. And if you can't make it, maybe you can find somebody else who would like to come, and you could pass those on to them. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming David Berner.
Mike is fast becoming my best friend. Says such wonderful things about me. That anecdote he talked about with the newspaper is absolutely true, and I got shivers up my back when he said that because I got so many people on my paper route who said to me, "How come you're so late? The paper's supposed to be here an hour ago." Well, that's why, because I sat there and read usually the sports page, but I read something and read about some other things. I won't tell you a lot about me. Mike did that very well, and I thank him for that, and I loved listening to Joan and John. But I'll tell you a little bit about this piece that I'm going to read. It's from Any Road Will Take You There, which is the latest memoir. I took a 5,000-mile road trip with my 2 sons and my best friend that was sort of based on a trip that Jack Kerouac took in On the Road. It was inspired that way. I had been in a place in my life where I wasn't sure what was next, and I remember that book when I was a teenager. It meant a lot to me, and I read it again, which I hadn't read in decades, and I read it again and decided to take a little road trip, feeling it might be, give some redemptive power and give me a little sense of what I wanted to do next in my life. And I took my 2 kids along, and I took my best friend. And it turned into a journey that was unexpected. It was really metaphorically a journey about me being a father and my relationship with my dad, and most importantly, his relationship with his father, my grandfather. The book starts out with a little bit of a secret about my family that I did not know. It's a photograph that's discovered. I'll let you read that if you buy the book, but there's a photograph that's discovered, and it really has me thinking about the whole idea of fatherhood. That's what the book is about. This part is about a part in the book where my sons and I are listening to music in the vehicle that we were driving in, and I was playing a lot of music that I liked and playing a few songs that they liked too, but they had been indoctrinated into my likes too. But it had me start to think about a moment I had with my younger son about music and the connections we made, and this is what this is about. Graham had seen 5 counselors since 7th grade. His mother and I even tried an art therapist to search for answers with paint and crayons and Elmer's glue. But things progressively worsened. It's not that he was a problem kid getting into trouble, antisocial, or violent. He was exactly the opposite: thoughtful, considerate, gentle. The paradox over Graham's grades began in the last year of elementary school, and like an insidious infection, spread into his middle and then high school classes, where his grades took a dive so deep that his mother and I were already pulling together the paperwork for summer school and the 5-year high school plan. He shined on tests, but homework was lost, forgotten, or willingly dismissed. But there were other concerns. He had been caught disregarding the truth, telling his mother and me he had done things and had been places he hadn't. And he had snatched money out of his mother's purse to pay off some debts to friends at school. His confessions revealed he had been buying Gatorade from the school's vending machine and extra hot dogs in the cafeteria. He was already a big kid, standing nearly 6 feet and weighing 250 pounds, and now he was getting bigger. There had been discussions with therapists about eating disorders, but frankly, the doctors, his counselors, his teacher, and his parents were all guessing. I started to refer to all of Graham's troubles as the noise in his head. It was the random racket, the crackling of the misplaced and misdirected electrical impulses, the dissonant symphonic sounds of a drunken wind orchestra. The noise was drowning out all the soul's quiet conversations, the soothing words of a mind trying to talk itself back into balance. But all around the turbulence, there was color, a dense pigment. Graham was not gray, beige, green, or yellow. Graham was purple, the combination of red hot and cool blue, but the delicate lighter shades of lavender, not that. It was deeper, more complicated hues of the crocus, the favorite color of Cleopatra, the color of robes worn by royalty and men of spiritual high rank, the color of the military medal given to those wounded in battle, the color of a Jimi Hendrix musical haze. The intricate combination of the color and the noise formed the center of Graham's complexity, a labyrinth no one had yet to navigate. Still, the simple part of the puzzle was that Graham was a likable guy. He was social and witty and sharp. He had sharp intellect and passion, especially for music. "Who's singing this song?" I'd ask when the two of us were alone in my car, the iPod playing through the car speakers, loud enough to vibrate the seats. "Hello, Dad," he'd yell through the music, as if I had asked the most moronic question. "It's Robert Plant. It's Led Zeppelin. Hello." There were times he tested me. "Who is this, Dad?" he'd say, certain I had no clue. "I think I've heard this before. It's Slipfoot." "Geez, Dad," he'd say, laughing. "It's Slipknot." Although the music selection on his iPod was quite eclectic, the heavy metal, that sound of music was his favorite. Along with Slipknot, Lamb of God, and other metal gods, he called them. He listened to Johnny Cash and Frank Sinatra too, but there was no doubt Metal was king. He even did a presentation in high school, a speech class on the history of metal music, one of the few presentations he actually completed. Now Graham wanted to go to a concert. Dad, Atreyu is playing in the city. Nope, don't think so. Nope, grades are too bad, sorry. Children of Bodom is playing in Milwaukee, only 3 hours away. Still not on track. Plus, you're not going to a metal concert without some supervision. Well, that was the opening he needed. Supervision. So you'd let me go to a concert, but only if you came with me? I began to believe it might be a good idea to get Graham away from all that was troubling him. There is this concert coming up at the end of the summer. It's huge, 6 bands, and it's at an outdoor theater, and it's Slipknot. His big blue eyes grew softer, and he tilted his head to one side, looking so young. Take a look at the date, I said. Check the ticket price to see what's available, and see if you can get some friends to go along. I'll think about it. I knew if the price wasn't outrageous, I was going to say yes. But I truly wasn't ready for a day-long metal concert with a group of teenage boys. We arrived 2 hours before the first band took the stage, and the parking lot was already filling up. Does that guy have a swastika tattooed on the back of his neck? I said to no one in particular. Yeah, he does, said Jack, one of Graham's friends. That's freaking sick. Some of these people are wacky, Graham said, seemingly knowing what to expect and in many ways already accepting what he would witness. I came to the conclusion early on that most metal concert goers are people on the fringes. But I was also surprised to see what some would call normal people standing in line at the entrance gate. Dad, are those our neighbors? Graham asked, pointing toward a couple at the south end of the gate. They looked to be in their early 30s. Both wore Levi jeans. He was in a polo shirt. She wore some blouse from Ann Taylor. They looked like they were heading to Costco. Does that guy have a stud through the back of his neck? Graham's friend Corey asked. The teenager was shirtless with a shaved head, black jeans, and sandals. Graham didn't seem fazed by any of this, any of the spectacle. Dad, he said, you're not weirded out by all this, are you? I teach college, Graham. I see a lot of wacky clothes and styles. I'm good, really. I lied. I was just a little weirded out. Listening to this music was a workout. After each musical set, it was as if you had just finished a run at the gym. The driving force of the music, the intensity, the relentless throbbing set it apart from any concert I had seen before. And I wasn't completely prepared for these lyrics. There were plenty of fucks and kills and hates. But to be fair, love was also in the mix. Even pray came up sometimes. So what do you think, Graham asked between the first and second bands of the day. Well, you know, Graham, I'm okay with this, I said, trying to find merit in it all. Wait until you see Slipknot. Oh my God. Graham put his arm around my shoulder and looked me in the eye. Now, I don't want you to be scared about this or anything. This was the Graham I knew. This was a boy who cared, had passion, and desperately wanted me to accept his music. Well, I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to be, Graham, I said. He smiled. Can we get something to eat? Graham asked. Here's $20, I said, handing him the cash, and he stuffed it in his front pocket of his jeans. No corn dogs, no funnel cakes, none of that stuff. Yeah, I got it, he said, jumping up and crawling over the seats in front of us, his buddies right alongside him. I sat alone at the stands, and Graham and his friends walked through the aisles and out to the food court, laughing and knocking into each other the way teenage boys do to show affection. One of them eyed a pretty girl. She appeared to be around 18 with shoulder-length blonde hair, wearing jean shorts and a Metallica t-shirt. All four of them stopped in their steps to watch her walk. Music, friends, girls. What more could 4 teenage boys want in an afternoon? There was one more band before the headliner. Wait till you see Slipknot in their masks. You know, they wear these masks. They are insane, Graham said, excitedly sharing a little insight into his favorite musicians. Some fans came to the concert wearing Slipknot masks. They always wear masks. They never show their faces, Graham said. Disturbed played next. That was the name of the band. And if I had to pick a favorite band of the night, it was these guys. The music was hard and it was powerful, but the lyrics, though dark and frequently raw, were deeper and more complex than the other bands. That song, Prayer, that's pretty good, Graham. I said in the relative calm between the end of the Disturbed set and the beginning of Slipknot's, it's about the singer's sister, you know, Graham said. She committed suicide and he reached out to God. How do you know this? I read, he said with a smirk. Well, when I was your age, Graham, I devoured Rolling Stone magazine, consuming every article about my favorite singers and bands. Did you know that Dylan, his song, It Ain't Me, Babe, that was written about Joan Baez? Did you know that Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young's Our House is Graham Nash's love song to Joni Mitchell? I had suitcases of this stuff. Graham wasn't even listening. Slipknot finally came to the stage. Fuck you, the lead singer said, screamed it into the microphone. The crowd yelled back, fuck you too. Some kind of metal thing. Slipknot burst into its first song with the force of a bulldozer. Graham and his friends went directly into a hard-banging mode, a head-banging mode, stiffening their necks and flatly twirling their hair in circles. Graham's locks were long enough to hit me in the ear. The boys and the rest of the crowd were now on their feet, pumping their fists in the air and belting out song lyrics that I could neither understand nor hear over the sledgehammer guitars and the drums. I stood along with everyone else, but my eyes were not on the stage. They were on Graham. He was jumping to the beat of the music, his body moving to involuntary impulses. Graham, I yelled, trying to overcome the massive sound. Graham! I screamed again, grabbing his elbow. This is what you needed, isn't it? It didn't matter that Graham couldn't hear my question through the dense and rhythmic thump that surrounded us. All that mattered was the music. All the work we had to do as father and son would be hard, tedious, taxing, difficult, disappointing, frustrating. But it had all vanished temporarily that afternoon in the sharing of this mad music. Thank you.